We will bring our City Council June 23rd, 2025 meeting to order, and we will call the roll. Roll call.
Sarchet?
Here.
Savage?
Here.
Walters?
Here.
Vogel? Here. Otis?
So item 3 is approval of the agenda, and I'm going to propose that we remove items 11 and 12, which are closed session related, and we have no need to go into closed session. So I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda without 11 and 12.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Savage?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Otis?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Moving on to item 4, public hearing. It's the time to close the regular meeting and open the public meeting on the proposed rezoning of property owned by Kaler Golf LLC. Jenny, when was the notice published?
June 13th?
Any written comments received for or against the proposed rezoning?
No, sir.
At this time, I'd like to request staff to provide a report.
Mayor and Council, tonight for your consideration is a rezoning petition request and a master plan amendment for the Kaler Golf LLC owned property at 540 North 3rd Street. So Council may be relatively familiar with this property. About 2 years ago, this property came in with a site plan for a maintenance facility related to the maintenance and operation of a golf course. Since that time, the property owner has indicated to staff that he no longer has a use for that facility and would like to sell that property. The request tonight is to rezone the property out of the planned unit development that it was originally platted under for Tournament Club of Iowa and rezone it to a C2 commercial district. The way that the Tournament Club of Iowa planned unit development was put together was basically that though every property within that PUD had an underlying zoning district, and then the uses of those properties were restricted. So the PUD itself was all intended to center around the owning, operation, or living upon or adjacent to a golf course. And so this property was a restricted C2 use where the only permitted uses for that property were related to operation, maintenance, and hosting of golf tournaments and a golf club. We believe that this rezoning petition is reasonable, and we would recommend approval of this rezoning. One thing worth noting is that the property owner did approach those property owners within the 250-foot buffer area surrounding his property and obtained 87.4% of the land mass within that buffer as consenting signatures. Also for council's consideration tonight is an optional waiver of the second and third reading for this rezoning. This is atypical for this council. However, due to the Memorial Day holiday, the publication was delayed, and the normal schedule would have had this on the prior June meeting. So we would ask the consideration of those two things. We recommend approval of both the master plan amendment and the rezoning request. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, council?
So this rezoning, is it going to remove those C2 restrictions and just make it a standard C2 district?
Correct. So anything permitted under the C2 use would be permitted after this rezoning, should it be approved. And that would also not categorically remove any necessity for traffic generation or anything like that should the property be redeveloped or permitted. The other thing worth noting is that the site plan as currently approved does have the restrictions on that property. So a site plan amendment would be required for that property to be occupied by any other user than that associated with the maintenance and operation of a golf course.
So the underlying restrictions go away zoning wise, but in order to use it for something different, they have to resubmit a site plan.
Correct. You are basically opening it to all of the permitted use of the C2 district, but it would still require a site plan per your code.
Any other questions for Travis?
No questions, but I would just this makes sense to me. The waiving of the second and third reading, I don't know that it does. If we compromised on the timing a little bit, maybe I guess, if, a couple things. So there was public discussion at the P and Z meeting, and that always makes me squeamish to waive second and third readings. Now, if, because of the time when we want to waive the third meeting at the next meeting, that maybe I can get on board with, but at this point, this seems straightforward to me, but that's not the purpose of these additional readings, and I would hate to do that, because we essentially just did it with the fireworks when we thought it was a slam dunk. Turns out it wasn't, with the 200 versus 500 feet. So I'm not trying to convince anybody, just trying to explain my logic.
Anyone else? Thank you. The owner is here. Stephen, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Okay. Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard for or against the proposed rezoning? I need a motion then to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Roll call.
Peck,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel, yes, Otis.
Yes.
So I need a motion then to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-700, approving rezoning from PUD to C2. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And roll call.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel, yes.
So here then is where we talk about the option to waive the second and third reading. If the council doesn't want to do that, we can just move on, or if somebody's feeling like they'd like to make a motion to waive the second and third, we would entertain that. So I'll just look right and left, waive the option, continue to hold the second and the third hearing, unless at the next meeting we have a motion to not have the third reading. So, okay, so then we will just move on to the next item, which is 4A2. I need a motion to approve Resolution 2025-80, approving amendment to the Tournament Club of Iowa Planned Unit Development Master Plan.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Vogel, yes, Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
So the next item is much easier. It's a swearing-in ceremony. Chief Hogriff, you're going to handle that.
Left hand on the book. Right hand up. Repeat after me. I state your name. I, Greg Cross, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
of the United States and the Constitution of Iowa,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the fire department
discharge all duties of the fire department
for the city of Polk City,
of the city of Polk City,
Iowa, as now or hereafter required by law.
Iowa, as
Now or hereafter required by law.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome.
Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
This is usually the time when there's a mass exodus.
You are welcome to stay.
Okay, we are going to move on to item number 6, public comments. This is the time and place for comments for any item other than those that are a public hearing. Jenny, did we receive any cards?
No, sir.
Doesn't look like do we have anybody here who wants to say anything? Give you the chance. All right, let's move on to item number 7, which is consent items. I'll ask for a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call.
Just,
Whoop.
So I don't have any, I do have a question, I guess. So on item M, Mike, if I'm reading this right, so on the brush memo, so the invoice from MWA was for essentially last year after we started it through the end of the year, we did 22 loads at that agreed upon $200. So where are we at this year with number of loads, roughly?
We have not been billed that. I
Yeah.
could estimate, but once again, we're taking out semi-loads instead of dumpsters, 40-yard dumpsters. We just had 4 semi-loads go out last Friday.
Okay,
And we had a few 40-yard dumpsters go out, I'm gonna say less than 10
okay.
before that.
So we're gonna, I mean, knock on wood, no crazy weather events or whatever, but we're gonna be in that same ballpark, you know, in terms of loads. I mean, I know that was 3/4 of a year, not a full year, but projecting 30, 40 loads, right, for the year. Is that safe to assume?
I would think so,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So my point here, and I don't know what we have scheduled to revisit this. I know we were gonna, the trial period goes until September, but $10,000, even buffering in a little bit more for next year, significantly less than we had both projected and had been spending before. So, just wanted to call that out as part of our rationale, for making the change that we did. And, you know, and then I'm a little bit biased that the MWA did step up, and I think $200 as a load is probably at their cost, if not a little bit less. And so as we get to September, trying to figure out how sustainable that is, and then just a significant cost savings there. So just wanted to point that out.
Jenny, we had a motion, correct?
And a second.
And we had a second, so we'll ask for roll call then.
Vogel?
Yes.
Otis?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Savage?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
So item number 8 is business items. A, first reading of ordinance 2025-800, amending chapter 122.02 definitions. Chelsea, you're providing a report?
Yes, thank you. For consideration tonight is an amendment to Chapter 122, which is peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchant ordinance. So if the city council recalls, a number of years ago, we adopted a mobile food vendor ordinance, which provided regulations to mobile food vendors. So it required additional rules and regulations for food trucks. This past year, we've had a number of inquiries from ice cream trucks that sell pre-packaged ice cream, and they typically drive around the neighborhood, reminiscent of when you were growing up as a kid. If you don't know what an ice cream truck is, you could do a quick Google search. We've had a number of inquiries, though, for those ice cream trucks, and we realized that our mobile food ordinance really prohibits them from operating on the city streets. A council member brought this to our attention. We looked into it. We had a conversation with the city of Ankeny, who also ran into the same issue. So tonight, we are proposing some new language which would allow those ice cream trucks. It essentially allows them to fall under the peddler, solicitor, and transient merchant ordinance instead of the mobile food ordinance because they don't have a mobile kitchen. This would also apply to shaved ice vehicles. If you've seen the Kona food trucks around, it would also fall into this category of being regulated under this ordinance as well. So we've prepared an amendment for you tonight. We've added the option to waive the second and third reading. I recognize we don't typically do that. However, we're in peak season for where these food vendors may want to participate in driving around our community. So any questions, and I'm happy to answer those.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve A, first reading of ordinance 2025-800, amending chapter 122.02 definitions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And roll call.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
And unless there's some reason not to, we'll ask for a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Moving on to 8B, first reading of ordinance 2025-900, amending chapter 165.03 definitions. Chelsea?
Thank you, Mayor. For your consideration tonight is a second amended ordinance, and this one is specific to chapter 165.03, which is our zoning code. We received notification from the ACLU about language we had in our code pertaining to male and female impersonators. They've asked us to remove it from our code. Our city attorney has reviewed the request and has recommended we remove that from our code. So the amended ordinance tonight is just striking language in the zoning code specific to male and female impersonators. And I have also added an optional waive the second and third readings on this as well.
Any questions, Chelsea? Ask for a motion and a second to approve first reading of ordinance 2025-900, amending chapter 165.03 definitions.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel.
I'll ask for a motion and a second on B1 to waive the second and third readings.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
and roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Otis,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 9, Mayor Proclamation, July Parks and Recreation Month. I think we all recognize the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Therefore, I, Steve Karsten, Mayor of Polk City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Park and Recreation Month in Polk City. Moving on to 10, reports and particulars. We will start with staff.
So with the recent events with Central Iowa Waterworks and the Stage 3 water conservation order, I wanted to talk about it just a little bit tonight. It moved pretty fast through our system as far as what we had to do to get to this point. But of course, we had to move quickly because of course, the nitrate levels were high for Des Moines Waterworks and in their source waters. So a little bit about it. The maximum contaminant level for nitrates in any drinking water in Iowa is 10 milligrams per liter. And Des Moines Waterworks does have a nitrate removal system to remove some nitrates, but they can't treat enough water for all of us in the suburbs, right? And Des Moines is included. There's just too much demand. So what they have to do to get underneath that contaminant level, because they can't reduce enough at their treatment plant, they have to blend the water. And usually those source waters, when one is high, the other 2 or 3 are low. So they can blend it, stay underneath that maximum contaminant level, no problem. This year, don't know why, all of those levels are high in every source water. So they're having trouble staying under that. They have so far, and they've done a real good job at that. But part of that is, since they can't blend as much water, means they can't produce as much water either. So that's where that's coming in, and we had to do the water shortage, Stage 3. So with that in effect, they were able to deliver enough water to our households. We can keep doing our same thing except for watering. And as soon as they put that notice out, dramatically, the usage went down. So people listened all the way through suburbs, Des Moines, all of it. People listened, and thank you for that, to be honest. And then we did a little bit of enforcement, nice enforcement, letters to people that maybe didn't hear about it, and then it went down again, 2 days in a row. So the usage did. So that's really good, and we don't have any problems in Polk City. People are really listening to that stage 3, which is excellent for us. So anyway, there have been some rumors going around. I'm sure you've heard them. A boil order was going to be put into effect. Well, a boil order does not do any good for nitrates. If you boil the water off, in fact, it can make it worse. If you boil the water, the nitrates stay there, they don't boil off. So you have less water, more nitrate. So that's not gonna happen. That boiler would not go on because of nitrates. Maybe for other things, but not nitrates. And we don't know about any other things coming at this point. So that is one rumor that we just want to get out there that is not true at all. That's not how you would deal with that. So anyway, I could take some questions. I just wanted to kind of get it out there a little bit. One other thing, as these things are coming through, this is the first time that Central Iowa Water Works has dealt with something major. This is major to us. I think that group, the technical committee, really worked through this pretty well. We were having meetings daily, and we've slacked off now because the communication's coming more towards email. But we have meetings weekly from this point forward unless we need to. So I really believe that that's working. When those communications come to us after the first day or two, they would be then, I don't want to speak for you, Jenny, but you were very good about when we emailed that stuff to you, then you would have it out on social media and the website and those different things for our citizens to digest that information and go from there. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on to this point, and just wanted to put it out in front of you. If you have any questions, I could try to answer them.
Yeah, I do have a few and more, so I understand Chelsea is our representative and Randy / you, right, on the technical committee. So I do feel as though the last few days, it's definitely improved on the communication, but I'm still struggling to understand why we got to this point. And maybe they don't know. I know it's not an easy answer, but I'm also a little bit, I am disappointed in the communication up front. And I think it puts cities in a tough spot to be able to respond to something that, as I remember this, it happened and then the communication started. And so for an unprecedented event like this, it's a little bit tough for me to understand how they could have not seen this coming with days, weeks notice. Now, I don't know what that time frame is, but there needs to be a little proactive communication. Hey, we're not trending the right way. And I get that if you do too much of that, then it becomes white noise. So there's a law of diminishing returns there, certainly. But for the first year of Central Iowa Works ownership with a public information officer or communication person, whatever, staffed, it seems like a miss to me, the level of communication. Now, again, I think it's improved dramatically, but I hope there are lessons to learn about what that trend line looks like before things need to happen, and then what the city's role are. I'm not comfortable with, and this is just me, the communication from the city saying, hey, here's an opportunity to call out one of your neighbors. I don't like going down that path. I feel like we have a mechanism. It is delayed by a month with the billing, but there's a mechanism there to identify people, and our proactive communication through different methods should be enough. So I'd like to see a better effort, and I don't know how that manifests. If they want to send somebody to one of these meetings, I'm guessing they're getting calls from that on, what is there, close to 20 member communities in Central Iowa Water Works?
It's 12. Yeah, there's 12 founding members.
Okay, so maybe it is a little bit more feasible. 12 is still a lot of meetings, but some sort of debrief or reconciliation on how this went down, because I definitely think there's to assume this is never going to happen again, although it hasn't happened in 30 years or whatever, isn't good, and to take some lessons away on how it could be better handled. It is very good to hear that people responded, so that's, and again, nothing directed towards our staff or anything on the city side.
Those are all things we can bring up, but when you say weeks and days of a trend line, this was something that was brought to our attention, and it just went boom. It was 2 days, and we were talking about it, like, seriously, it was that quick that this happened.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't think that trend line's gonna show weeks. It will show days, probably. You can say days, but not weeks, so.
So if my supposition there wasn't fair, an explanation from them on why that is,
Yeah.
would, again, I don't know, I'm not a technical enough person to know, it doesn't sound like they know exactly the cause either, but some advance notice, and if it is as immediate as you say, then noted, but some sort of conversation.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Again, I agree that especially if it came on fast, like identifying how to deal with the situation and quickly get that taken care of. But yeah, something, a postmortem of what happened, how did we really get here, would be helpful, because I think, again, we've probably gotten some questions but again, I commend our community for complying with this. I mean, I think people did very quickly do what they were supposed to do. And sometimes people are resistant to things like that. So yeah, I really appreciate the community effort, not only of our community, but across the metro for everybody that participates. It was again, a really quick thing that came on, and to hear that most people are taking the right action is appreciated.
Very good, yeah.
Can I speak?
Actually, we have a time for the public to make comments. Did you have something pertaining to this topic or what?
Yes.
Well, it's unusual, but if you've got something that you think can add to this topic.
So what I heard this morning is that the amount of nitrates that were put on agricultural lands in 2024 was up 11%. So I think that's really our source problem with this. And, I sent an email to my senator and my representative. I haven't heard back from that, but voluntary compliance with, trying to regulate and trying to manage nitrates and other farm runoffs hasn't really been effective.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's true any more than you think it is. And this is the problematic piece, because I would be skeptical of the notion that fertilizer planted in 2024 would cause a spike in mid-June of 2025. But probably is to some degree a factor.
Data and what is applied in the fall will sometimes run off in the spring.
Yeah, so, okay, I think we'll stop there. Do you have anything else to add, Mike?
No.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Let's see, let's go to city manager.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, and we will go to council members.
So I did have a couple of things, the Central Iowa Waterworks being one of them, so covered there. I did talk to Jason, who's doing a little bit of research on possible partnership with the Arbor League on identifying and maybe expanding the scope on what the Arbor League does on city land, and identifying where there are spots where the planting could be either maintained better, or the plantings on native things could be done a little bit differently. So still in progress, but I would say the Arbor League is growing a little bit and spreading out the workload a little broader. I didn't talk to Mike because I'm hopeful it's a net neutral thing to your guys, but you're in the firing range, at least at this point. But just a beautification, I don't like using that word necessarily, but a little bit more proactive maintenance of some of the plantings that we have. And then I got included on a local government symposium on Wednesday. Haven't gone to that before, but looking forward to seeing what that is gonna, I think it's led by the Iowans for Tax, an organization, and I'm gonna get the name wrong, but we'll circle back with how it goes and what it looks like. That's it for me.
Anyone else? I guess the only thing that I have to add is the Four Seasons Festival coming up and refreshments and cake to recognize our 150th birthday from 11 to 3 p.m. on Saturday in this building. So everyone is invited to participate in that. So that said, we skip 11 and 12 and we move on to item number 13, which is adjournment. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.